digital activism and youth with an example of Indonesia. Why Indonesia? Because the Indonesian youth, those who are Generation Z, born between 1995 and 2005, comprise of a large proportion of Indonesian, probably about 28.8%. So according to this research by a popular online media source called Tirto.id, amongst 1,200 Generation Zs, 83.6% of them access their information from the internet. So how they find out about Indonesian society is mainly from the internet, what's going on in their country. So this is quite a large figure compared to only 1.7% who would be reading a newspaper, or 14.4% who would get their information from television. And this is just a diagram of the different kind of education qualification that they have and the type of online media where they get their information from. So just look at the red bit is social media, and that's elementary, junior high, high school, and university level. So are young people therefore considered digital natives because they are so often online and getting access online information about their world? And is it, if they go online and they're active online, are they then considered digital activists? So what is digital natives? Why are young people often stereotyped as digital natives? So the term digital native was coined by this US speaker and writer called Mark Prensky back in 2001. And he specifically focused on young people, and he called them digital natives because they think and they process information fundamentally differently from their predecessors because they're surrounded by the new technology. So he had a very positive kind of vision of or outlook of young people as digital native and their lives, because it's all about new ways of communicating through instant messaging and chats, and new ways of expressing themselves through blogs. And back then is MySpace, no longer exists, I think, MySpace, but back in 2001, that's the vision he had. However, scholars such as Dr. Terry Judd, who specializes in educational technology here at University of Melbourne, he critiques Prensky. So when you're doing debates about young people and digital activism, think about these concepts. And he said that being digital natives does not make you digitally literate. So my own research look at not only the positives of or the stereotype of young people as digital natives, but what does that imply in their working lives? For example, young journalists are often stereotyped as digital natives. So I've done this project amongst Australian and Indonesian young journalists called New Beats. And we look at how they feel burnt out because they have to produce stories for people like the Generation Zs, who the majority access their information through internet, 24/7 kind of real-time expectation. And they have to then publish it in social media, and it circulates, and they get clickbaits. And because they have smartphone now, they no longer need to have editors and videographers and photographers to help these journalists. The journalists have to do all. So being a digital native and being stereotyped as a digital native, particularly as a young person, we look at the kind of lives that they have. So it's not always a positive kind of about messaging and blogging, but it is also affecting their lives, their working lives. And how do young people then process this sort of information? Are they digitally literate when they get news? And where is the news sources from? And what is the implication for digital activism? So today, I would like to try to give you a couple of anthropological concepts that will help in your debate. So we've gone through digital natives versus digital literacy. And then another concept that I would like to provide for you is called algorithmic enclave. So that being engaged online and being active, politically active, could actually create polarization. And when you are digitally active, does that mean that you are actually being doing traditional kind of activist movement? Are you organizing yourself for demonstration, or does digital activism create slacktivism? And then we were going to look at the concept of polymedia. So how do activists, a young activist, use different forms of online media to organize themselves or to do these sort of forms of digital activism? And then I will end with a brief description about digital citizenship. So what do I mean a little bit about polymedia? I'm going to, I have here online a screenshot from abc.net.au that show work by a digital anthropologist called Crystal Abidin. So Dr. Crystal Abidin is a Singaporean, but she is a researcher based at Curtin University in Perth. And she looks at this climate change demonstration, the demonstration that's affecting you there in Sydney, and demonstration that's affecting us here also in Melbourne. They're still demonstrating last week. But more so about how the young people, so the young people who were digital activists, and how do they use a TikTok? I presume most of you know a little bit about TikTok. So TikTok is an online platform which, according to Crystal Abidin, includes both the performativity of YouTube, so this is what makes them really attractive to young people, and a scrolling interface of Instagram, and also the humor that's reserved for platforms like Vine or Tumblr, which is a video kind of platform. So she calls it silo social. So because these are mainly kids that are using it, and it becomes a way for them to politically organize for the climate strike, and that is free from adults. So we have to look at, in talking about using digital activism, what kind of platform they're using and the reasons why. So in this case, because it's mainly free from adults. Okay, and the kind of features they have. So when we go into looking at some of the problems that are created by being engaged online, there is work by Associate Professor Merlina Lim. She's she's Chinese Indonesian, but she's based in Canada, and she has this very popular herself research and publication called Freedom to Hate. So she uses the concept of algorithmic enclave. So what is algorithmic enclave? Algorithmic enclave is when the online messages and the social media campaigns by opposing political faction amplifies the beliefs of their social media followers. So for example, in Indonesia, with the recent election, the recent 2019 election, you have two candidates. So you have the president, Jokowi, who then became re-elected, and then you have the opponent, Prabowo. So the two different camps have different kinds of online messages and social media campaigns, and different kind of performances online. So for example, Prabowo very much uses the image of himself as the ex-general, the strongman, the nationalistic person, and this is also related to a very religious kind of nationalism from Indonesia versus Jokowi, who sees himself as an everyday person, you know, everyday people for the little people and those who are minorities, marginalized. So different kind of social media messages and strategy. And how does algorithmic enclave then work? Well, the social media feeds that you get if you are pro-Jokowi or pro-Prabowo supports the preferred political party message. So you will only get messages if you are into Jokowi. All the messages in your feed will be continuously about Jokowi, versus if you are very much into Prabowo, most of the messages that you get, because of the algorithmic way that the Facebook feed, for example, shows up, oh, he keeps liking Prabowo's messages, so, you know, or from his camp. So you will keep getting these kind of messages, and you don't get the messages from the other camps. However, what it includes is potential for fake news, or news that are created to discredit the political party. But because your Facebook feeds only features things that are about Prabowo, you may not be able to shift through which one is fake news or not fake news, because you don't get the whole spectrum of news from both camps, because your algorithms on the Facebook page keep showing you this very specific kind of information. So that's where there's a challenge in terms of digital literacy. Okay. Now, so what Marlena said is that being active online, having the citizen voice online, actually meant that specific political agendas during elections can be pushed by lobby groups, and people are able to sway their immediate social circle about certain political beliefs. So she said, actually, being engaged online, because of this algorithmic enclave, it doesn't promote public debate, but it engages only people with similar beliefs to yourself. And this belief becomes more and more extreme and more entrenched. And she uses the example, I don't know whether you know, but you could also do your own research afterwards. I don't have enough time to go into detail, but she uses the example of the Christian Chinese Indonesian governor of Jakarta, Ahok, who was campaigning to get elected as a governor in 2017 again. However, what happened was an edited YouTube political campaign that he did went viral, even though there was some possibly fake elements of it, because it was edited together to show that he was actually blaspheming against Muslims. So then he was charged with blasphemy, and he went to jail for 2 years. And what Marlena Lim showed using this example is that the Indonesian digital communities during this whole political campaign in 2017 created an algorithmic enclave of anti-Chinese versus anti-Muslim. And therefore, the online digital activism often creates polarization. So this is a research that I did as just another
Dr. Monica?
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you, but we're running a little bit out of time.
All right. Okay, so I'll just go through quickly then. So this is a different one, which is similar to Ahok, hashtag Indonesia with a feminist versus hashtag Dare to Have a Voice of Facebook group, Jakarta Feminist Coalition there. Now, also the issue about digital activism is whether or not what you're doing as youth is just slacktivism. So what you do is you just do sign change.org petition and do likes and shares instead of actually organizing yourself and to do street demonstrations. So that's slacktivism, which is just being active online versus actually being active on the streets. And my final example is from a recent demonstration in Indonesia by youth, by university students in Jakarta and in Jogja. And I use the concept of polymedia because what the youth did was they organized themselves using different kinds of mediums. So they use Line, which is a new form of WhatsApp, to organize backchat amongst themselves, how to organize campaigns, but they use Instagram for participants of demonstrations, and they use Twitter to really promote the demonstration to international media, to the public. But what they fear, this is the last point, is that Indonesian government have ITE laws, or information and electronic transaction laws, that can control activists and charge them now with fake news. And this is a situation now, for example, with what has happened to an activist called Veronica Komang, who is a human rights lawyer for West Papua. So what is happening in Indonesia, a lot of journalists, international journalists, can't get into West Papua to find out what is happening, the human rights abuse, or the kind of violent demonstrations that's happening there. But she was there and she tweeted about this. However, she's now charged with this ITE laws because they said that what she tweeted was fake news. And the Indonesian police have asked the Australian Federal Police, because she's now in Sydney, running somewhere, to hand her over using this ITE laws. So what I'm going to end with is the concept of digital citizenship. So in terms of being engaged as digital activists and being a digital citizen, it is also about new forms of control by the government who surveil its citizen online, citizens such as Veronica Coman. However, there's also possibilities for contention. So you can make changes as digital activists, such as signing online petition. You try to change government policies. And there are also capacity for creative cultures of practice. So you can use political satire, hashtags, or videos that go viral to subvert some of these government control. So being a digital citizen, being a youth who's active online, it's not just about a set of rights and responsibilities or appropriate behaviors online, but it is about that fluid interface that connects government and their control mechanism with people and practices, such as the practice of youth and digital activists in Indonesia and Australia. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Monica. Thank you so much, and we'll end the call now.
Thank you. You have my contact there through the ASEAN organizers. If you're interested in any of my work, just email me at monica.winarnita@deakin.edu.au. Thank you very much.
Thank you.